In this video, we'll be talking about how to see in the chart the countries or the places where the person will go. We will also talk about the fourth house mothers. We'll see how there may be signs that the other party can do some shady things for us. So it's important for those who are doing those property deals. We will also see how this 90 chart part from the first to the seventh, so it's below the inner sphere, how it's called in the Western astrology, what this can mean. And we will also talk a little bit about the personal development when it comes to some challenges to our character, or we can also see that in the chart of other people to get more clarity when we are doing some also partnership or deals, things like that. And what is important, all of these points are my own observation, are my own research. So they are based, of course, on those axioms, on those theory coming from the parampara. But just so you know, they are just my observation, what I see in this one chart. So let's roll the intro and start with the first one. And just to say, for all of these examples, I'm always using like many dashas, like 5 of them, to pinpoint exact what's going on, to be assured that I'm looking at the proper point. But in this video, just for the sake of simplicity, and so you can follow us advanced astrologer or maybe beginner, so you will also follow what's going on. Example is of Christian Rocancourt. He is a famous French conman and fraud and thief. So we are dealing here again extreme charts, but as said, they can be more useful to learn astrology than the everyday, let's call it the pastel life, right? Without the big peaks of good and bad. So those charts, when a lot of is going on, if we put the details of those events, then we can learn a lot. So from biography, we learned that his first big fraud was related to the property, and he just showed the false papers and he sold the property for $1 million. Then something happened and he moved to the US. Now, when I read about moving to US, I'm very aware and I'm now trying to understand what's going on, because we know that the US in the chart is signified by Gemini. And as North America, it's a Mercury. So this we are sure of, and we've made many examples. We see it works quite well. But now, knowing that this is the Mercury and Gemini, we can see what parts of the chart are connected to this to understand. Maybe we can use that and we can derive some rules, we can derive some patterns to help ourselves and friends and our clients, our family. So in this case, when we see when he moved to the US, it was around 91 year. In the late 91, there are already some biography signs that he was already in Las Vegas, I think, but definitely that year. And if we see the dashas, it was the Saturn Mercury, right? I was talking about the other dashas. In the Narayana dasha was Gemini, the Chakra dasha was Gemini, all of the other things were pointing at that point of the chart. This is the third house also in the Rashi. Therefore, it is 12 from the fourth, so it's like leaving the place of stay, feeling that I'm homeless, I'm not belonging, right? This third house can also give those sentiments, those emotions. But what is interesting here, in the D4, if we see, we have this Mercury in the 12th house, of course, because it must be there, 12th house must be activated in the D4 of the chart of property and place of stay. But what is interesting, that Mercury and that Gemini are connected to the 12th house. And as usual with research is always a theory. It's only hypothesis to find that connection between the effect or outcome and the probable cause. Because, for example, in this case, it may also come from the Narayana Dasha. If we read the book from Pandit Sanjay, the Narayana Dasha, he also mentions there that direction of, or it was in the crux of Vedic astrology, I'm not sure. So the rule that the Narayana Dasha will show also direction where the person will go, right? So if that was a Gemini, it may just come from that. But I've also seen other charts, and there is something to it. So the first observation is that the 12th house in the D4 may show also where you will go. Like in this case, it's either Mercury, the Lord is there, but we also see the Rasi Drishti of the Gemini is on the 12th house. So this is the first observation. You may check this in your chart if there are some connection. We have a lot of divisions for the directions, for the continents, and for the countries. So if you know these divisions, you may check how this rule is working in your chart. You can also write me in the comment. By the way, if you'd like me to help you understand what your chart shows, there are many planets, and understanding their dynamics will help you in the health, relationship, and career life. For the tips and the timings, we can use those Vedic astrology rules. So if you're interested in that, you can find the link in the description. Now, the second one is also quite interesting. The 4th and 5th have this nice benefics, right? So if we study his biography, he was a very wealthy person, and he also was quite knowledgeable about the art, about the business, about the all different ventures, about the sports, because he was mingling with that high society, with the actors, with the people who were into art, with very wealthy people. So you need to have those qualities also, because otherwise you will be conman or fraud for the other sector of society. But here, interestingly, we see Lagna Lord is in the 7th, right? We have this Mars and Ketu. They are also the theft planet, which can work at night if they are especially weak. So we have this Lagna Lord in the 7th malefic. This is important. The malefic may show like this person may throw some fire on the other people, because it's a malefic already has a lot of Agni, and here it is also 2 Agni planets, the fiery planets Mars and Ketu, and this is on the 7th house. This is not good for spouse, not good for those people who will come with him in some form of deal, relation, agreements, business, and so on. But what is important, the night or the inner part of the chart from the 1st to 7, it becomes the karma of the others, right? Because Lagna Lord is in the 7th, so you are somehow coming or going or stealing from others. And now their karma will be those planets, the 10th, their 10th house will be the 4th house, their 11th, so their gains, their income will be the 5th house. So we can see he's going Lagna Lord to the 7th, this postdoor is in the 11th, so he's gaining or deals with this Venus and this Jupiter's, and this is the wealth of the others, because this is now the 10th and 11th from the 7th house. If you have benefics there, it may be also a good significator that you can have jobs related to positive now side of all this. Like, for example, for those who are working in agency, right? They will have similar yogas. The 11th, the 10th is showing you are somehow making the other people getting money. For people who are working in coach industry, or those who are like set in agency or PR, they job also have in consideration the other good fortune, the other work, the other benefits, right? So if you have benefits in this part, then it may be a sign that in your work you are dealing with the fortune of others. Of course, in this chart, he exploited that and he did it in the bad way. Now, the third interesting point is that when he started his first con, his first fraud, when he sold that property, I was very curious to see how this planet is placed, or the signs, all the dashas, how they are placed in the D4. So I was curious if that Saturn has something to do with the second house, because it will show the person is selling the property and he got a lot of money from there, and how this planet will be generally placed. What is interesting, he has this Sarpa Yoga in D1. I mean, it's a partial Sarpa Yoga because we have 3 malefics, but not 3 houses, but it's there. In the D1, in the D9, we have the same. We have Saturn, Ketu in the first and Sun, Rahu in the 7th. I don't need to do any Navamsha rectification with those nice charts. And then in the D4, we have also Sarpa Yoga. We have Ketu in the first, Mars in the 10th, and Rahu in the 4th house. And that Saturn was in the 9th house, right? So again, we have some hypothesis. We have some theory that if there will be a malefic in the 9th house, then in time of the person, the morals or ethics can be challenged, right? The level how this will be challenged will, of course, depend on the chart. Here we see very extreme situation. We have this Sarpa Yoga and all those elements from Arudha Lagna related to the Mars Ketu, Saturn Ketu aspecting the 10th in the Navamsha. So this is quite extreme, but we can derive some pattern here that this time when it happened, it was influencing the 9th house of Dharma in the D4. Now, when it comes to his morals, of course, he needs to have some moral problems, especially the truthfulness must be challenged, right? The first house has a malefic, so that is the preliminary condition. Interestingly, we have a nice benefic in the fourth. We will speak about that soon. But also what is important, the other observation is from a Lagna Lord, Ascendant Lord. This is Aries. Ascendant Lord is Mars. We count to the Sun and Jupiter, right? To the Sun, it will give us some health indication, but Sun is much more. So maybe there is also much more to this. What is interesting here is that from the Mars to the Sun, we have 9, right? Even if we count to the Jupiter, which is showing our choices and intelligence, we will get the 10th, right? So we have this, like, this is a situation when Mars and Ketu are in 9th or 10th. Right? So if you have Lagna Lord Malefic, and now we may have the additional rule, and when it is 9th or 10th to the Sun, then it will impact the Dharma or the Karma in the Malefic way. Right? Again, just to repeat 100 times, it may be small thing, small challenge, which needs some kind of personal improvement, personal development. But if there are more points like this, if you have 20 points like this, then of course it will compound to something bigger. The same area, but different point will be the Navamsha Lagna. So we know that it can inhibit the fortune of the person, but because it's very close to the 9th house, maybe it is also showing the Dharma. So Saturn and Ketu in the 9th house. And again, we have this research problem. It may come from other things like, for example, the Saturn and Ketu aspecting the 10th house. Maybe that is enough. But interestingly, it is influencing the luck. So to be sure to conclude, we will continue that with other charts and we will see if they will support that or will say, no, you are wrong. You are going in bad direction. You need to go somewhere else. Now the Navamsha chart. Many of you will have a planet joined with other planets in the Navamsha. And also we have observed that when 10th house from the moon, especially the Lord, is joining other planets in the Navamsha, then this other planet will have a big say, even the sign. Like for example, in my case, 10th from moon is Venus. Venus is with Sun, so I was doubling with music production and things like that. But in the Navamsha, it is related in Scorpio. It is placed in the Scorpio. So the Navamsha will show what really will come, because this is like the seed, this is like internal part of the planet, what is really there. Right? We also know that if you have a malefics in the first 6 from Arudha Lagna, then if those malefics are in the Navamsha weak, then it may look like you will win, but the real deal will be that you will lose or you will have some challenges. It can be a bad dasha for you. And therefore the Navamsha is fortune. So similarly here, you may see this nice Jupiter in the 4th house. Now 4th house is, apart from the purity, is very important for trust. Especially when he was living in France, it was with Arudha Lagna. So he looked like a very trustworthy person, right? Therefore he could cheat so many people. It's interesting also that he wrote biography about, and he ridiculed those victims in those books, how he did it. So he needs to be trustworthy. He must have something in the energy, aura, vibration, however you will call it, that that people will believe him, right? And this may come from the Jupiter. But now the truth, what is the real indication? If we see in the Navamsha, this Jupiter is joining Saturn and Ketu. So this may show the real part of the story or the inner part of the story, however you like to call it. Now the last thing, which is also quite interesting, because he was stealing a lot of things related to the chart D16. D16 is all about properties like cars, like computers, maybe a jewelry, things like that. And he also had a good history of working in that sector. And what I have seen is that he started to exploit a lady for the paintings. She had a lot of paintings, and somehow this lady had some health problems. She was in a vulnerable situation. He exploited that. And then there was the whole legal case. and things like that. So it all started in Mercury Ketu. By the way, this lady chart is also available on the astrodata.com. So if you want to see that synchronity of these two charts, then it's there for you waiting. What is interesting is that it was in Mercury Ketu when he started that whole exploitation part, basically cheating that person. And we can see that Mercury Ketu. So in the D16, again, fourth house may be the focus, so the second house will show selling something, right? Or getting something. It's like benefiting from the property. And here the second house is the Leo, Sun is the Lord, right? It was in Mercury Ketu, so seems like not working, but Ketu is dispositor of the Sun. Also the Sun is aspecting the Ketu. But what is interesting, that Ketu is in the third, which is 12 from the fourth. So ultimately he had to give it back, right? Because he was caught, he had to pay all that penalties and all that. So we can see that both things were happening at once. He gained those paintings, right? Those D16 elements, which is shown by the second house, gains, and then he lost them because it's in the third house too. So based on that, you can also see in this chart of D16, we have Lagna Lord again in D7. So he's going to other people for that. And seventh Lord is exalted, Saturn with Mercury and in Libra, right? So his friends or victims were often people related to movie industry in California, and also people who are into the art and things like that. So we can see also that type of a property, type of those objects he will surround himself with is also nicely shown by the fourth house. And the timing is perfect. The 11th and the 12th from the fourth house were activated when he gained and also lost those paintings, right? We have again the Saturn and Ketu, which are the karaka for the theft. Okay, guys, so that's it for today. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up, subscribe for more like this. And if you'd like to learn more about Navamsha, then please consider watching this one.